We wanted to talk a little bit about our CARES Part B spending and our business plan for assistance and recovery. And Heather Tonelli is here to discuss that a bit with us. And then we have our budget work session right after that. So I will turn it over to Heather to start things off. We have maybe I'll just introduce it. We have our CARES Part B spending allocation that should be here this week. I did speak to DBM, and they said they did get the information from somebody here, and that money should be hitting our books sometime by the end of the week. So that's roughly $4.4 million that we have for business recovery. On your desk, you do have a copy of the business recovery plan, and in that, as part of that plan, there's the list of the projects that we had initially put in the plan for the Part B, and as you recall, the money we asked for was far in excess of what was going to be available to us. We figured if we made our ask a little richer, we might get some more funding later at the end if there was other jurisdictions that couldn't spend all their money. Well, everybody is I think doing a pretty robust job so far, and we want to do the same, so we may not get any more money, but we still have the $4.4 million. So we got to make some adjustments in how we allocate, our 50% of the coronavirus relief fund through the CARES Act. So,
and just to be clear, this funding can only be used to COVID-19 related issues.
Yeah, the easiest way to explain it is if this money covers things that we would not otherwise have had to do had it not been for the pandemic. So it has to be somehow related to the pandemic. Business recovery, PPE, things that we need for the health department and for businesses that they need to address the COVID-19 crisis.
And we cannot use it to backfill lost revenue.
That's correct.
A big no-no.
That was one of the things that the governor's office actually fought for. They wanted it to be able to be put towards revenue loss, and that was one thing that they specifically said in all their guidance: this cannot be used for revenue loss. Now, there may be another federal package coming out that's going through the House. I think it's in front of the Senate now that could potentially give us some revenue.
That one does have revenue stabilization.
Yes,
for the counties.
so that could be coming in the weeks
It's
ahead.
actually passed the House.
That's the $1 trillion one they just passed.
$3 trillion, yeah.
$3 trillion.
Yeah. So maybe on the horizon we'll get some of that, but for now, this money is for everything but that, COVID related.
Very good.
So as part of that, we had a pretty big piece for business recovery, and these have to be grants. We talked about having them available as loans so that we can recoup that and reuse it, but they told us at the end of the year, if we had some of that loan money we got back, we would have to return that to the U.S. government. So I think we decided just to make it all grants for our local businesses and hopefully help them through this crisis until we can get reopened. So I think what we want to talk about now is just setting the limit on how much we want to authorize or at least put forth towards the initial stages of this program, and then we can set up applications. And Heather's done a lot of work over the past few weeks to get that set up in a committee so we can administer the program going forward. So I know she's real excited. So.
Yes, we are. So before you've had a chance, I'm sure, to look at it, we put together a Queen Anne's County Small Business Assistance and Recovery Fund. As Todd had mentioned, we had originally put in loans as part of that package so that we could be repaid and then reuse that as needed. But through reading the CARES Act and getting feedback from various people, it appears that we are unable to do loans, so we focused on grants. I'm hoping that you're willing to put in $2.5 million. As you can read through the paperwork, we had a range of $2 million to $2.5, and these would be grants. We did not set a blanket amount saying we're just going to give out $10,000 grants, because we felt like there's some larger businesses that might have more employees. That $10,000 is not going to help them reopen or help them where they need, but we have many small businesses and sole proprietors, and
They don't need that much. Yeah.
they don't need that much. So that's why we kept it open. We anticipate that our average grant will be about $10,000. I've looked throughout all the other counties, and every single one is different. Many of them have the same basis that we have here, where we're looking to fund PPE supplies. Also, for example, like a restaurant, if they have to move tables around or do construction, to help pay for those costs in order to get reopened, as well as some operating costs, rent, employees, supplies, things that they would need to get reopened or to re-engage to actually be at a capacity that they could serve additional customers once they're reopened. We did write this before the retailers were allowed to be open, but many of them already know what their overhead costs are going to be, what their operating costs are going to be. So even for a restaurant that isn't open, they still should have a pretty good feel of what they need to have in order to get reopened. We do, as a sidebar, have heard some complaints or concerns from the restaurants as they haven't been given, exact feedback as to what they're going to have to do, whether they're going to have paper menus or what exactly they'll have to do, but overall we have general guidance for businesses. So again, used for PPE, changes necessary to meet the social distancing requirements, some operating costs. We ask that this be open to for-profit and nonprofit, with preference on the nonprofit side given to nonprofits that have employees. And then we could revisit those that don't have employees, down the line, depending on how our funding goes. They would have to be located in Queen Anne's County, be in good standing. They can be sole proprietors as well as corporations. They would have to fit the small business SBA standards, which are pretty broad. So any of our companies locally would fit into the small business standards. Even companies as large as PRS would fit into the small business definition. The only businesses that wouldn't be eligible would be, gambling, banks, the normal entities that aren't usually eligible for SBA funding, although this is not, SBA funding. Again, the ranges will vary. We are looking to establish a loan or a grant committee. I'm looking for about 5 people. We're hoping to pull from the Economic Development Commission as well as the Economic Development Incentive Fund, because many of our members are already used to looking at loan packages or grant packages and kind of understand what they're looking at, and we can help expedite that pretty quickly. So we're hoping to have that in place should you approve this. By the end of the week, we've already gotten some interest from those that would like to serve on that committee, and we feel it's important that I'm not making that decision, or our staff at Economic Development and Tourism aren't making that decision, that it's a third
How many
party.
people would be on the committee?
I assumed 5 because I'd like to do them in person in order to be able to stay within our 10 person limit that's currently there with staff involved. But, flexible on that, willing to go more. I wouldn't want to go too big because then, in order to be able to facilitate that gets cumbersome, but, flexible on that side.
I think 5 works.
Heather,
Heather, do you have any idea how many businesses you'll be able to bring into the fold? Any guess or?
Well, I did some analysis because it really depends on how much they ask for. And if we're at the 2.5, and if our average grant is 20,000, we'd be able to do 160. So,
but the question was a different one, which about the same question I was about to ask. How many applications do you think you might get, or
I anticipate a lot. So
what does that mean?
I would say
How many
40,
businesses are in the county?
like 2,500.
Sure, 2,500, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I don't anticipate all of those are going to be, going to apply, but I would say I could see 500 coming through easy.
Because at an average
About
grant
125 businesses, Joe.
of 10,000, you can service what, 250? So that, maybe that ain't the right grant average, you know what I mean?
Well, one of the things I think we need to employ as part of our vetting process, and that the committee should look at, is we have a lot of businesses in the county that either were recipients of PPP or state grants.
Sure.
So I think the
They don't
businesses
need-
that
don't
got
need help.
nothing should really move to the top of the list in terms of being eligible, because you have a lot of sole proprietorships, you have a lot of businesses that have employees that weren't eligible for the other grants. So I think you probably get 80 to 100 of them right out of the bat, Steve. So I think we service
Eliminated.
them.
In other words, 80 to 100 eliminated?
No, 80 to 100 that have received nothing.
Okay.
That are just,
Right.
you know, out there in la-la land in terms of getting any kind of
Right.
help. So I think those businesses should be the ones we look at first.
I agree. Do you think that that commission would have the time to vet that many businesses?
We,
That's a
we
lot
are,
of vetting.
it is. We
Well,
are,
that's gonna be a question on the application. We
yes,
can
we're
add that
going
as
to
a question.
pre-vet
Yeah.
in our department, although we're going to be too short on people. We have Ashley's leaving on Friday to go to Charles County, our tourism director, and we don't, and one of our other staff has been gone for a while, so we're down to 3, which includes me. But we're going to pre-vet them before the grant committee ever sees it to make sure they've provided us all the information we requested, good standing in Queen Anne's County. And we're going to ask them, have you applied for any other, you know, whether it's the Maryland grant programs or the EIDL or the PPP? And if yes, how much did you receive? And we'll be able to, the different programs that we're looking at, we'll be able to compile that information very easily for those that are going to be looking at these to be able to see that. And that's why I said it's important that with the grant committee that we have those that are looked at grants or loans before, so they have a feel of what they're looking at. We're also going to look at their, ask for financials to make sure that, you know, in 2018 or 2019, that the company was successful or at least liquid to a certain point, so that we make sure that the funds that we're giving out are really going to help them get reopened, and that we're not going to give money to pay back debts and not get them to the place that they need to be in order to get through the door. One of the other things that, if you looked at your second page, that we've talked to Workforce Investment Board about, should you approve us to do this, is there's about $200,000 in CBDG funds that have sat there, I want to say since 2007, that have not moved. And right now they're in our revolving loan fund, and we have to get approval, and, you know, there's some things that we have to do. But to be able to match those that are in current industries, hospitality, retail, tourism, type of jobs where they don't see themselves going back anytime soon, to match them with all the jobs that we do have open, especially in our manufacturers and higher paying jobs, and then help fund that training component. So those, and we would help advocate that to make sure that they knew of all the jobs that are available. Hey, maybe think of a new career, and then look at businesses down, let's say in the business park, that are manufacturers that can train in-house, because there's a current issue with being able to go somewhere else to get training, and help fund that training. So we're help pull the people off the unemployment rolls and get them reemployed in the county, but in higher paying jobs with benefits.
Have you, I imagine that you probably have some folks' names floating. You mentioned EDC and what was the other?
Economic Development Incentive Fund, they're also, you know,
Right.
look at loans and
Right.
grants all the time,
And so you kind of have an idea of the 5 that you're,
most of them. And some I've asked, but some I haven't responded back yet, so I didn't want to throw their names out until and I'll look for
Gigi from
recommendations.
Kent Narrows Development, was she one of the folks that you were considering, or?
I haven't talked to her yet because she's been out working remotely, but
Okay. Her name came
Mm-hmm.
up, that might be a good person to sit on it, but, I mean, but if you think about it, between your EDC and the Economic Development Incentive Fund, I mean, this is basically what they do.
right. And it is going to be a commitment, as you mentioned, as far as the
lot of work,
number that
yeah.
we're going to have. As I said, we're going to try to vet them as much as possible, so when we give these packages out to review, they've had time to really, all the background work is done, and we're making sure that if we see that they've gotten sufficient funds from PPP or from EIDL or some other source, we're going to show them those, but make sure that they understand that they've been, you know, already received funding. We have been working with IT, because one of the issues that we have is to make sure that we can make this all electronic, to be able to fill the application online and submit, as well as they're going to be transferring, you know, documents that we don't want out there in the cyber world, and we need to make sure that those are secure, and they have been really helpful with looking at different options. The one that we found today that I wanted to bring up, and I was on a call with Megan, is called Seamless Docs. And several of the counties, Caroline's using it, Worcester, Montgomery, and there's probably more, but those are the ones I know that are using it. And it's an online application that lets you convert Word or PDF applications to make them so that you can fill them out online and submit them, as well as attached documentation. They would house all the tax returns and all the things that we're going to be getting from applicants. And this application can be used across the board for Queen Anne's County, and that was one of the things we had talked about before in the past too, being able to have online application and submittal and follow-up all electronic. And she said that this seamless docs could be used across the board in all of our different departments in order to automate and be able, especially during COVID where we can't necessarily accept hand applications. It gives us another option to be more service friendly to not only our businesses but our residents as well. The downside to it is it's $14,000, but it's for the whole year across the board. Not only would it help us, it would help all of the different entities within the county.
Permits department.
Huh?
The permits department.
And we can use the CARES Act funding for that expense as well, because it is part of the program. So I think that's certainly a valid expense for that. Plus, it will help us going forward.
I mean, he created an application within the time that we sat there. He showed us the.
So I guess I'll make a motion to allocate $2.5 million towards the CARES business reconstruction, reemployment, and remaining QAC initiative.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. I would.
Excellent.
The one thing I would say is you can ask for all the applications, however you're going to do that, but I do them in groups, maybe do the first group of 10, because I think you're going to learn a lot of things that you should ask the rest. You know what I mean? You're going to have to trial that trial batch and then move forward with the rest of the group and see how that all works out.
So start to
Well, the
finish.
good news is, if we
start
could
to
do it in
finish
less than
10
2 months, we're doing better than the
applications.
state is, because
And then,
I've
okay,
talked
we
to businesses
gotta
that put
change
in the
things
state
up a
grant
little
that
bit for
haven't
this
seen it
next
yet.
group of
Yeah.
10.
And they
this
put it
next
in
group of
March.
10.
Right.
So
Good idea, Jim.
hopefully we can beat that. As long as we can get the money out before 2 months, we'll be beating the state.
Yeah, we want to make it a simple process as we can, but we understand, there are limits in the funding, and we want to make sure we get the dollars to the folks that need it and the businesses that
Right.
And that's what I
really
mean.
can
So,
benefit. So, yes,
you'll
we agree.
learn in a small study group that first group that who really needs it, who really don't, how to weed those out, ask the right questions, and
Yeah.
get that money moving forward.
For
Very
about a
good.
month, we've been looking at all the other programs that are existing out there and doing just that, kind of seeing what
Right.
questions they're asking to
Right.
make sure that we're ready and prepared. But I'm sure there'll be something that comes up that will be unexpected. And we're working on our frequently asked questions right now too as well, because we know that'll come.
And I would only request that you do away with what the state put on theirs with asking about gender and race and all. We don't
Oh,
need
no.
none of that stuff in there. That was an absolutely ridiculous ending to the state by application, in my opinion. A business is a business. If you're in trouble, you're in trouble, and that should be the end of it. It shouldn't matter who owns it or anything else, so.
You agree? Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Heather. And we'll do a press release on that and get that word out, and I'm sure it'll be well received by our business community.
So Todd, is that to assume that we're all in line with the remaining expenditures, the way they were broke out on the sheet that you sent
For now,
us?
I mean, we may have to make some adjustments going forward, but, we wanted to be flexible.
That's a good outline, the one that you sent us?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, we put forward, okay.
Yeah, we have other programs. We're looking at some broadband expansion, some building modifications, and then some human resources administrative functions. So, yeah.
So one thing we didn't bring up there, but we didn't really have to, is, so my understanding was, when we talked with Dr. C, when me and Stevie and all of us got together that day, that part of the PPE money that was for the equipment itself, the masks, plexiglass, was going to come out of that for businesses if necessary, correct? So it won't necessarily come out of this pot of money, it'll be coming from that PPE pot that we
It
got
can.
originally, right?
It may not, the PPE money from the Part A may not cover every single need from all the businesses, but we're going to do what we can as far as.
Right, but I'm just
providing
saying,
that, yeah.
part of the needs will be covered by that.
Yeah, yes, it will. Mhm.
But that's if you look on the screen, if you can see what's on the screen, that's the 4.4 million based on so if you look in the middle, it's
Right.
got the breakout. That's based on the 2.5 million for business recovery. and the other is,
700,000 for broadband, 600,000 for community programs, 2.5 million for business recovery,
200,000.
200,000 for building modifications, and 400,000 for admin human resources.
Yeah.
And that 4 million, that 400,000 is for hazardous pay.
Well, probably, we may not need it for that, and probably won't need it for that unless we have an outbreak at like the detention center or something like that, but we can use it for, if we have extension of FMLA, or if we have to send folks home, or if we, for example, we're going to put some screeners at this building and at the Vincent building, so it can help defray those
Gotcha.
HR-related costs for personnel that, that we would otherwise have to pay for.
In terms of the library and stuff like that, is there money, are we pulling that out of the original pot to allocate?
For the library, you say? No, they specifically excluded the public libraries and Board of
I saw that, 'cause
Education
there's a
from this.
separate pot of money for
They
that,
have
correct?
separate monies that are
Okay.
coming for those agencies, yes. Mhm. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thanks very much.
okay. Ready to do the
Drop.
budget?
Yes, sir.
Booyah.
Okay. Well, you have a book for May the 19th, which has 3 sections, and it's also showing this on the screen, so you can see the table of contents. So there's an introduction, which I'll go through pretty quickly because you've already seen that for the most part. And then we're going to go through the outside agencies, and then there were some issues we discussed last time about the capital budget. So that'll be the 3rd section. So, starting with the introduction, page 1 is the budget schedule, so that kind of puts it in context. Today is the 19th, so this is budget work session number 4, and next Tuesday is the public hearing here, which is the constant yield tax rate hearing, which is required by law. And following that, we had potentially 2 other work sessions on June 2nd and 4th. That's yet to be determined. And then June 9th is the adoption. Going on to page 2, these are the parts you've seen before. This is the revenue. Just highlighting there the $2 million in revenue stabilization money. Page 3 and 4 are the expenditure by department. And the highlight on page 4, those areas really that changed between the county administrator budget and county commissioner budget. But we've already talked about those. So page 5 is the revenue estimate, which again shows a revised estimate for FY20, which is a couple $1 million below the budget, below the FY20 budget, and then the FY21 revised, which comes out to be about 142 million, and our expenditures are now at about 144, which is why there's 2 million in revenue stabilization to balance FY21. And
Jonathan, while we're on that, so I had a question from somebody who called me the other day from one of the other counties and brought up an interesting point. We as the counties are writing down our revenue estimates. And the question, again, I think it's valid, is are the Board of Education's writing down their revenue intakes to help offset some of the counties, because obviously they're not spending all the money that we allocated last year, which was mandated. So, and they can only carry a certain amount in fund balance year over year. So why wouldn't we apply whatever that savings may be that the board's not spending to this year's revenue deficit and maybe wipe that whole thing out? And I think that's a valid question.
that's a question that MACO is looking at for all counties, because that is a kind of a universal. We know that the boards are going to spend less than they budgeted. Historically, in my experience, boards kind of look askance at giving any of that money back. and they.
But they're governed by what their fund balance can be. So it's not like they can keep the money and show it as fund balance. So where would that money go?
What is the
Well-
limit? Why do they not have, what's the limit on their fund
I
balance?
think our board's $1 million, right? Is it $1 million, something like that?
No, they had more than 1 million.
At one time, but
They have had, I thought they had maybe 2 or maybe even 3 at some point.
they have restricted fund balance, I believe, right?
So, some of it's restricted, but I think what
For
you're
some
going to
reason,
see
that $1 million
this year,
sticks in my head for our board for some reason. So
but it's going to grow, and I think that Michael Sanderson has been addressing this issue with the county budget directors as a way to kind of set that issue up so that it's kind of at a, higher level. So each county doesn't have to deal with it individually, but it could be addressed at a higher level. Because it's going to be kind of a universal issue throughout the state. And so the question is, well, what does happen to that money?
right, and then I mean we're looking at what's it 1.2 for the 20 to close the 20 gap, right? Roughly, is it 1.2
Yeah,
or 2?
yeah,
Somewhere-
something
so
like that,
so
or up to
1.2. I mean, if you figure that the boards had salaries for 4 different departments that have pretty much been negated since the shutdown, say it's $700,000. Well, that's half of our budget shortfall covered right there. And my thing is, what are they going to do with the money? Because next year they're going to come back and we're going to be mandated to give them the same amount of money again that we would have been mandated to give them this year. Either way. So what are they going to do with that money? You know what I mean? Differently between now and then, that we could actually use it to close our gap. Because we've already given them that money,
No,
so.
I take the point, but I mean, carrying it forward, is that, if they carry it forward, they would have an upwalk in their MOU anyway. I mean, their maintenance of effort anyway. So what difference would it make if they carried it or we did?
Well, because we could use it for our real operating. In other words, it's operating they're not using. We could put it back against
Do
operating
you
we're
have any
physically.
sense of how much this is we're talking about to begin with?
I don't really know how much they're going to save. That's not something we've been privy to. We'd have to ask them. I don't know what they would tell us, but
You have any guess?
I mean, they have,
I mean, the bus drivers haven't worked.
Yeah, we're
They have
talking
bus
a couple
kitchen,
100,000 or-
it's- I don't know.
have bus
I don't know.
contracts, they have school costs, so,
Is there any
I
reason?
mean, the schools have been shut down just operationally.
No, I
Energy
think-
and everything else got to be a
I
decent amount
understand,
of
but
money.
why not just pick the phone up and ask them and see what we're dealing with here?
Well, I did ask that question last time when they were here. Didn't get a clear answer. I asked John Pfister, what did it look like they were going to be saving this year, to try and tee that up. But I mean, it's fair. We've been fair with them.
No, I certainly
to ask
accept
that.
your point, but, yeah.
We can certainly circle back with the Board of Education and ask them for an estimate of that and provide that information to the commissioners. I'm sure they're going to say.
Granted, they probably don't have to give us the money, but, I'd just like the public to know that the board's sitting on $3, $4, $5 million, and we got a $2 million shortfall we got to
No,
try to close.
I accept your point.
Thank you.
And I can't imagine that they don't know that question isn't coming from us. You look at a revenue source like the county taxpayers to the Board of Ed, and if the schools are closed, I mean, citizens are going,
And I have been questioned by citizens.
their operating costs are at an all-time low because the school's been closed for 3 months, however long it is. I mean,
But
if
they're
you try to
still paying the
quantify that,
salaries.
if you try to quantify that number, what is it? And the county has a shortfall in their budget process.
Yeah,
In
just
good
the-
faith, give that money back.
Just the savings in paper
I think,
towels.
Jack, it's a great question, Jack.
That's all I'm asking is good.
so
faith.
I think Mako's issue was in part, looking at, we really don't know. I mean, we have estimates for FY '21. We don't know what that shortfall is going to look like. It could be worse than we say, and if that's the case, then this becomes even more relevant as the counties are further behind.
And not to mention, in this year's budget, we're already at the 2023 level of Kerwin at 61 million. I mean, we're giving them basically the 2023 level here in 2021
Right.
for Kerwin. So you know, like I said, we're dealing in good faith here. It would be nice if we could get a little bit back, so.
Talk to Michael too.
I did.
Okay.
He was one of the people I talked to, but I talked to several other counties that,
Yeah.
again, it is something in a lot of counties, especially the smaller ones. I mean, Montgomery County, I don't know if you're closing 300 million. That's a little tougher to do, but, you know, a couple million for smaller counties, that's a big deal, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, page 6 is the $5.9 million in reductions. You've seen this before, but this is going from the county administrator budget to the county commissioner budget of $143.8 million. It shows the reductions to the capital budget, to the, shows no new positions in FY '21, no increases in employee compensation, proposed departmental savings in the MOUth program, and the hiring freeze, all of which is estimated to come up with $5.9 million.
Jonathan, can you go over that? Because I know that was something we discussed last time, and Jim had a great question about it, and it looks like you've adjusted the employee numbers there. So the hiring freeze, that pertained as well to the existing open positions, correct? Even though they were budgeted positions. So you've already added that savings into
Yeah.
the 2020 as part of the shortfall. That's already been taken out, correct?
So, yeah, FY '21 savings are based on, right, existing positions that are vacant, plus some additional, plus upcoming attrition, which is
Okay.
kind of what we do every year, but
But what about the savings on 20? Is what those positions being empty in 20 and being budgeted, is that already out? Have
well,
you
the
already
FY
figured that in?
'20 savings doesn't really help us in '21. That will
I'm
help
talking
us.
about closing the gap for this year.
Oh, for this year, sure. Yes.
You've already
So-
calculated that into what you're giving us as a
Yes,
shortfall.
I mean,
Okay.
in terms of what, yes.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's kind of late in the fiscal year, so it's not a huge amount of money, but to the extent there are additional vacancies this year, that helps us this year now.
Okay. Okay, just want to be clear.
Page 7 is the reserves, where we did the little kind of brief survey. The question being, okay, well, we were using some form of reserves, and what were other counties doing? And this shows that in this kind of small survey, more than half are, like us, using some form of fund balance to balance FY '21, and in some one case here, FY '20 as well. Page 8 is the enhancements, which we've also talked about. There's kind of a full year column, and then there was a part year funded column, which is no longer funded. So none of these are funded in the budget at this point. Page 9 is that page that I guess everybody was so fond of, and so we made some adjustments to this page.
Certainly was a conversation piece, that's for sure.
So let me just explain a couple things about this, because it is different. And so the FY '20 versus FY '21, if you just take the bottom line, there's 15 more positions in FY '21 than in FY '20. Well, that is based on 13 of those 15 are animal services, so that was a mid-year add. And the other 2 that are new in FY '21, one is in economic development and the other is in the circuit court. So those are positions that were added, kind of what you call mid-year, FY '20, so they show up as new positions in FY '21. So that's how you get from the 550 to 565. But if you look at sort of division by division or by department, you're going to basically see that they're the same between 20 and 21. A couple minor changes where, positions are kind of moved around, let's say, from one division to another. The next column is the vacancies, which we're showing is now 30, which relates to the total filled. The total filled is 535 versus the funded is 565, so the difference is 30. So as of today, we'd say there are 30 vacancies, except that, of course, there's more than that because it always changes. And people left this week, so it's,
But this is a snapshot from when the day you
yeah,
did it.
it's just
so,
when we did
which
it,
is
yeah, it was
fine.
30.
Right.
It's probably more like 32 right now, but, and then the last column is the 22 positions that were requested as part of the enhancements, which are not funded.
Okay, so with
Okay.
that being said, do we want to go over any positions that you think are mission critical that?
We can.
Well,
at this point.
since we're on that page, let's get that done now.
Okay, all right.
And if
Just-
you want, if you have everything you got everything you need to review that?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
We can just go right from the top down. So the first one, if you go down in that center column that's green, it shows the vacancies. We come down to DES, Emergency Medical Services side. These are the paramedics. We have 4 vacancies, one of which I believe has been actually filled because it was an internal change from a contractual position to the full-time. And they have 3 other candidates that they have available, 2 that have been through the interview process, 1 internal candidate and 2 external candidates they would like to fill those.
So
DES.
while we're on DES,
Let me just
so-
say, all the ones we're going to talk about today, these are the positions that have been going through the interview process, interview phase, and these are applicants that are all ready to be offered employment.
yeah.
And
Right,
sort of
they've already
got
gone through the process.
Going through the
Right.
process, they've been interviewed, they've been vetted, references have been checked. They may not have all have been drug tested yet, but that's the next step. But we've put them on hold until we can kind of get approval to move forward.
Well, I guess, my question with DES is, are these 4 positions, or possibly 3, because one is a position change, are these positions that were filled and they left? Or are these positions that just have never been filled?
They are, I think these are a combination. Some have left, and then there's a couple that were approved last year to be converted from the part-time over to the full-time. If you remember, we did like 11, I think, from part-time contractual to
Right.
to 4, yeah.
Right, so we did, we had 11 part-timers and we went to 4 full-timers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we don't have a dollar amount to go with that, but that's,
I mean, we can get that.
no,
dollar
I mean,
amount,
but you're saying this is an absolute, this is a must.
We believe it is, yes.
If it's 4 positions, I mean, it's probably 240,000 or something like that, with benefits.
But looking at it, though, them not being filled there this year is a savings, but they're already budgeted in 21
Correct.
according to the sheet. So it's, I don't know why we'd even have to worry about, if they get filled, they get filled, right? I mean,
Right.
we're not
They're budgeted,
losing
but-
anything or gaining anything.
Let me just make one point about that, which relates to kind of what you were saying about the freeze. So there is, in balancing the FY21 budget, an assumed number of vacancies, which is pretty high. It's probably about 30. So in order to balance the budget for 21, we would have to have, and that's not really out of the realm of what we normally have. There's almost, I mean, normally you get like 5% attrition rate anyway, which would mean we'd have like maybe 20 vacancies at any given time. But because of the freeze, and so we've upped that number. So I guess my point is, we should be shooting for something like 30 vacancies in FY21 to balance, even though they sort of initially are funded, but because we've used numbers for the freeze, we've kind of taken the funding away, not by specific position, but
How
sort
much
of
did
an
you take
aggregate.
away?
Pardon?
How much did you take away? I mean,
About
you're-
$2 million.
So, well, that's probably more than, or is that
Could
based on
be-
like 30?
Could be 30, maybe a little more than 30.
Okay, all right,
And that's in a 21,
Yes.
right.
not the savings this year.
Well, this year's over. I mean, we're a month away from being over, so.
But they've been vacant, so we've recognized the savings, is what I'm saying.
Correct, but what he's saying is for 21, if you don't fill those, he's already used that calculation for $2 million in savings to help balance the budget.
Doesn't matter the position. I mean, obviously, a park ranger versus a paramedic, the
Right,
savings
well,
is definitely
that's,
different.
okay.
But as we mentioned earlier, I mean, it's a moving target, and just like Jonathan mentioned, we've had 2 additional folks leave just this past week. So we're going to have, I'm sure that's going to, there's always changes.
Right. So let's-
with that.
So let's continue on to see which other ones you have
Okay.
on that list and go from there and then
right.
come back in.
The next one would be the Detention Center. They've got currently 2 vacancies. We'd like to fill one of those. 2. Then following on down, General Services, they've got 4 vacancies. 3 of them are maintenance workers that clean our buildings. 1 is a facility technician. We'd like to hire 2 of the maintenance workers that actually provide the building cleaning services. And the next one would be the information technology. We have 2 vacancies there, one of which we'd like to fill in for IT. And this is a junior data application specialist that we feel was necessary to come in and help with our software programs. And now that we're much more, dependent upon our IT systems, especially now with COVID-19, we believe we need an extra staff person there. Now we have, like I said, 2 vacancies there. We'd like to fill one of those.
Hey, Todd, I'm sorry, going back to General Services, there was 4 vacancies. How many did you say you wanted to?
2.
2?
We'd like to hire 2 of those, yes. And we've already received a request from the judge because they're going to reopen the courts, I believe, June the 8th. Does that sound right? That they want to see additional cleaning in the courtrooms, in the public areas in particular. They're obviously concerned about,
Sure.
our current environment. So,
Is that it? IT's the last one?
yes,
Okay. So,
for today. And these are, like I said, these are all the ones that have been in the process. Now, obviously there may be more later, and we'll certainly come back to the commissioners at the appropriate time before we do any more hiring.
so that's more than 25, it's about 30% of the total. And that's $550,000 out of the $2 million that you were,
About 25%. Well, because there's a couple more vacancies, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 8 positions. Right, depends on the level, but, maybe 400, 450,000, something like that.
So,
But it's dependent, but it is only May, and we're looking for vacancies for the next 15 months,
Right.
or could potentially all give us savings,
right.
Yeah. And as Heather mentioned earlier, we lost another person in her department, economic development. That now has 2 vacancies, and we lost one other individual in the roads division. It went from 2 to 3. Another operator just recently resigned this past week.
Okay. So the DES is really 3, not 4.
That's correct.
Correct.
That is correct.
7 positions, all right. So what do you want to do? It has and so that would clear up everybody and then from here on out, the freeze is the freeze, unless somebody leaves that's mission critical. Yes.
Which one did I miss? I've got,
3 for DES.
yeah.
1 for the detention center,
There it is. Thank you.
2 for general services, and 1 for IT.
Gotcha.
Yep, 7. That's right.
Thank you.
Anybody? You good?
Good. Okay.
No? You good? You good? Okay. All right. So that'll take care of all the ones that were in the process of their applications, interviews, and everything else, and there's no other issues we need to fill at this time.
At this time, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, what's next?
Okay, we go to tab 2, starting on page 10, and these are the outside agency grants. So pages 10 and 11 show you the FY19 actual, FY20, and FY21 requested, and then it's followed by the, what you have on the screen is the page for you to fill in. We talked last time about dividing up.
Did everybody do their homework? Jim assigned?
To an extent.
So I would just, let me just point out one thing. I think That's the newer one, right, Brittany? That's got Graysonville. So just to say that Graysonville Community Center asked us yesterday,
They didn't send anything in prior to that?
not for this year, no.
Okay,
Right, no. But, you can see they had money the last 2 years.
right.
So it's not clear, other than I think they had a new person in that position. So we asked them yesterday if they wanted to request, so they're on the list. So they're there for 19,500, right?
Did they give us specific detail as to what the money was planned for?
They did, yeah.
Ice machines, floors, sinks,
We have that?
all
Yeah,
kinds of
let's see.
different,
I have an extra copy here. I don't think it was in the
You can
book.
put it on the screen, though, if you can read it. Oh,
What
there,
page is that, Jim?
see, there's,
oh, the Graysonville one?
Yeah.
It's not in here.
It's not in
You
here.
know, they just sent it right there.
Because we
right
just
there.
got it.
Right on your
There you
screen.
can see the 19.5. I think the ice machine is a typo. It's not really 16,000.
That's what I thought too. That's,
must
boy,
be
that's a heck of an ice
1600.
machine.
You know what, if my memory serves me correctly, we gave them $5,000 my first year in office back in 2011, or 12, I mean, our first budget cycle, for a new HVAC system. I know we did.
Okay.
So, do they go bad that fast?
Or it's a different one.
Yeah, that's got to be a different one, because 3,000 is not very much for an air conditioning system for there.
Yeah, that's the cost of like a mini split, something like that.
That's what I'm thinking,
One of
maybe
those
it's like in a
smaller-
kitchen or something
Could
like
be,
that.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so here's one thing that I looked at, and I'm opening this up for discussion. Because of the situation we're in with COVID-19 and budgets being tight, all of the new ones that have come in, I look at them and I don't know how much of a great need that is. You know, for instance, the Betterment Club of Sothersville, while they're, I'm sure they do noble work, $50,000 is.
You can make it really better.
Yeah, so, but I mean, we have that, we have, there's the last three, there's about 6 or 7 in here that are first-time askers, and I just think that maybe this is not the year we take on anybody new, unless it's something really, anybody here sees something that they want to contribute to, that's fine, but, I mean, that would cut $200,000 right off the bat, off the top of this number.
So which one are you talking,
But
which ones are you
Jim,
talking?
I was, so the Betterment, I know what that is. That's actually the Sellersville Museum that they're
yeah.
building up there. But, so I wasn't looking at 50,000 for it, but my thing is give them some this
Okay.
year, let them
All right.
fundraise.
All right.
That's my idea behind all of them. I wouldn't fund any of these fully, honestly.
Okay.
That's the way I looked at it. Is
All right, well then, with that being said, we'll move forward and get her done. And we're gonna go through the same process, and you're number one, so you get
So
to
I will
start.
tee that up for the
Yep, tee it up.
museum, 7,500 for the Betterment Museum.
Okay. Betterment.
Who's keeping track here?
Brittany's keeping track.
Where is that?
So there it is.
Brittany is. She got the computer over there.
So on this grant, on the grant request sheet, the one where we fill in?
Yes. Yeah.
Where is that one? Page one?
Betterment
or-
is the third one down,
Third one
fourth
down.
one down,
Okay, I see it. And Jack's saying how much?
75. Now, Jonathan,
Yeah.
what was the amount that you had allocated for the grant
Has set
program?
up a 501.
It was 500,000.
And out of that 500, has anything been spent before we start?
No.
Okay,
It
so,
was-
because remember, we had a discussion about the Kent Nares Development Foundation and Chester Y as coming back every year for the same amount of money as almost like a line item in our budget. Did we pay those, or they still got to be in here?
I'll leave out the Chester Y to state, because that's not part of that. So that we do every year is kind of a direct money to the state of Maryland.
Okay, so
So you
Chester-
don't need to select them.
That's a pass-through.
Yeah. That's sort of a given.
Okay,
Now, but Kent Narrows is not. You're right that we've sort of treated it as something we give them every year, but they're not funded anywhere else, so they'd have to be funded through here at this point.
okay. All right, so if we don't fund them, they don't get it.
Well, so let's take that up this year and put that to bed, much as we have the municipalities. Do we want to just do that and take it off of this sheet completely and fund it as a line item and get rid of it?
I would, and then, I mean, that's 35,000 that goes towards their, I think that's what they use.
Operational.
Sign program.
Yeah, well,
No,
they're
it's part
calling
of
it a sign
operational,
pro-
'cause-
Right.
Yeah. So, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it's on here every year, and we wind up having to do it every year. It's become a budget item, more or less, versus a outside agency.
There's a few, like that, like the Upper Shore Regional Council, which kind of used to be on here, but now it's a line item.
Right, because it's a dude.
Arts Council.
Right, it's a dues.
Arts
The
Council's
same
another one.
with
but
Clean
that's-
Chesapeake
Right, CCC is the same way,
is a
right?
line item.
But the point is, when you do that, you knock it off this budget, but it goes on the county budget, so you're just adding to your budget.
Correct,
Because you actually are leaving the same amount on here to distribute.
right.
So,
I get that, but I just think it's one of them ones like Jonathan just said, Clean Chesapeake, Upper Shore Regional Council, we've moved those over. They were on here my first year, Clean Chesapeake was on here the
Right.
first couple of years, and now we've moved that over to a line item. There's just some of them that they're gonna keep reoccurring, and they're somewhat vital to the county and operationally, so.
a lot of these may be, are reoccurring and will reoccur. I don't know, I'm not arguing about it, I'm just raising the point.
Right, I understand.
Well, this year, they're all supposed to be coming at us with projects, so not operational, so that should eliminate some. So are we in agreement with that? To move that?
So moving it this budget cycle?
I think,
Or
Yes.
next year?
This year.
this year, get it done with, and then get it off of here.
So, and we'll do this, we'll compromise, instead of 100 each, we'll do 95 each.
Say take 85 out, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
okay?
I
So,
gotta start all over.
yeah, we're 95 each.
So, do I get an extra week on my homework assignment?
Yes, you do. So, Mr. Wilson, where would you like to go?
I'm gonna take my first bite here and throw it into animal services, even though it's our thing, because they are gonna be short on their medical budget, and will save our budget getting hit later if I do it with my money. You see, I'm doing the reverse of what
I understand.
Doug just did.
So that's not on here, how much do you want to put in there?
We get I don't know,
You-
20.
Okay,
So I'm putting that into, and we can't do
Writing
it
it in.
directly.
you want it to go to AWL, towards their budget?
Todd knows the correct.
It's, they set up a donation fund, Friends of Queen Anne County Animal Services. It'll be administered through Chesapeake Charities. So they can actually do some fundraising through that program
See
to
how-
help for some of the animals that need surgeries, more
Okay.
expensive surgeries and such.
How much
This
did,
saves the county
much
money
did Steve
because
say?
otherwise
20,000.
we're gonna wind up.
25?
having to-
20,000.
Yeah,
thank you.
so,
Brittany, you get that one?
So is that, you gotta put a,
A new line for that one.
animal services.
All right, so
There you
Ken
go.
Narrows,
She's
I'm
got a
scratching
new-
that out.
A new row.
Perfect, okay. All right.
Don't worry, I'm keeping tabs on your toes.
Okay,
I think, I could contribute. There's some, obviously, on mine, I was going with, 35,000 the Ken Narrows Foundation of my 95, but so
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 you're
you're
95.
moving that, I can scratch that out.
absolutely.
Okay.
And keep going, so,
All right.
and you're up,
And I'm up.
you're up.
Sorry, you guys threw me a curveball. Oyster recovery? Is that one we're pulling
No.
off of here?
No, that's staying on here, so. How much, Phil? You want to
Okay,
do?
10 grand.
Okay,
All right, so I had 5 in there, but I'll scratch my 5 if
There you
want
go.
10.
so oyster recovery for Commissioner Dumanel, $10,000. So. Commissioner Corcorino?
I'm gonna put 15,000 to the Sweet Magnolia Academy.
And I'm
Sweet
putting,
Magnolia.
I'm putting 10 on that, so.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Yeah, if you planned on putting money on that, when somebody else announces it and it's not the full amount yet, chime in so we don't have to keep going back through the same ones.
My list isn't that organized.
nothing better to do at 3 o'clock this morning.
So Sweet Magnolia was,
Sweet Bay Magnolia Academy, Jack's 10,000 and Chris is 15,000.
for 25 grand.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna do, the DFC, if I can find them on here. QAC, Drug Free Coalition, I'm gonna do the 8,800. All right, Jack, what you got next?
Let's go with the, I already got that one. Okay, so Sellersville Library as a whole, I'm not specifying this for any one of those 6 on there, but $10,000.
Well, you go either capital or operating. Which one do you want to go to?
Which do we normally do it?
Well, they need operating,
So
because,
it's operating.
yeah, I would, just because the town,
That's fine. Yes.
where they asked for 65, right. Okay. Mr. Wilson, the senior.
Yeah, can I take a pass and let somebody else, I'm looking something up.
Okay.
Jump on.
Commissioner Dumel.
The pass goes to Phil.
The pass goes to Phil.
That pass will be completed.
There now.
Farm Bureau. It's second page,
You doing the whole 2,000?
doing the whole 2,000. Jack, you and I think a lot alike.
I had them for the 2,000 too, so. You just saved me all kinds of money, Phil.
Okay. Commissioner Corcorino.
7,500 Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
Is that under QAC?
No, that's
Oh, I see it. I got it.
top of this.
Corcorino, Commerce. What was that number again, Chris? I'm sorry?
7,500.
I can't remember what it was.
That you, Jim?
Seen it in here. No, I can't find the damn thing.
I'm gonna-
Fantasy baseball.
I'm gonna do the, Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Anybody else have anything for that one?
I didn't, but I may based on what Phil's gonna do the rest of the
Well,
month.
I'll do 15,000 there.
So that one's done then.
Yep. Back to you, Jack.
So, it's the Family Preservation, QAC Family Preservation Fund for DSS, 10,000.
60,000.
Where's that?
Second page.
2,
Got it.
fourth one
Fourth one
down.
down.
Yep.
How much?
10,000. Mr. Wilson, the senior.
Yes, sir. Corsica Sailing wants to put in a handicap dock. I'm gonna put, oh my goodness.
Corsica River Yacht Club.
$60,000.
Yeah, forget that. Drop it.
But you can give them some of it, Stevie, and
But, sir?
you can give them some of it. That's what I'm saying. If you want to give them 5,000 towards it,
Yeah, I'll
that's-
give him 10 then.
there you go. I mean, that's
How much you giving them?
10.
10,000.
Yep. I thought there was a letter from John Foster.
Stevie's spending big this year. Last year, he was nickel and diming all over
Yeah, he
the
was.
head, wasn't he?
He's starting to get it.
He was like, I got 1,500 left. Who needs that?
Back to you, Phil.
Rotary of Kent Island, 7,500.
That wipes that one out.
Where are you, Phil? Where's that at?
That would be
Page
page
2, all the way down.
All the way at the bottom
Well,
down there?
midway down.
Halfway, Rotary Kent Island.
I got you. That's the breakdown. All right. Phil is right. Yeah, somebody got these backwards on us. Commissioner Corcorino.
It's going to do 2,000 for the Make a Difference Day, but do we know if they're going to be able to do the Make a Difference Day? I guess they'll just bank it for the next year after that.
We
It's
don't
usually in
know.
November, so hopefully by that point, but it's
I would hope by
a
then.
large gathering, so.
Yeah, hopefully by then we'll be in good
Is
shape.
that, what page? That's a-
Second
Second
page,
page,
about
QAC
right
Make a
above
Difference
your,
Day.
Okay.
right above the Rotary. So you're doing the whole 2,000, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do forestry for for 1,000.
What?
Forestry for 1,000. We do it every year.
Okay, then,
I'll match you.
You want 1,000 in there too?
Yeah, sure.
They're only asking for 1,000, we're giving them 2.
I'll give them two. Yeah.
Just give them Stevie's 1,000, Jim, and they can put
Okay.
yours somewhere else.
Yeah, I think we'll
Don't give them
Steve-
more than they're asking for, they'll get greedy, we gotta.
Yeah,
All right, so you're back open.
So Jim's back up again.
okay, then I'll go, the Children's Council for 1,750.
Children's
So that's-
Council,
Yep, 1,750. All right, Jack?
Trying to get all the big ones out. The Friends of Dudley Chapel for the new roof, 7,500.
Okay,
Take care of my North County projects.
Mr. Wilson, you're up again.
Yeah,
is it Friends of Dudley Chapel?
That Dudley's Chapel is a good one, Steve. It is.
It is.
They
It
do
really
need a
is.
roof.
It's a cool place. Yeah. And
And
they
you said
definitely need a new
75?
roof on it.
You said
I'm gonna
75?
do
I did 7,500.
10 for the Arts Council.
10 for the Arts Council?
Yeah, please.
So is that all of it? No, they want 35. So I did 4,500 for the Arts Council, so put that on there as
So
well.
we're now at 14.5.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll put 2,500 on the Arts Council.
Say what?
2,500 on the Arts Council.
Jeez.
So that's 39?
17 right now.
I mean, 17? You're doing 3, okay.
Commissioner Dumino.
Kennard Alumni Association, 7,500.
So that's the whole amount there, right? Yep.
Okay. And Chris, you got another one?
5,000 for some feral cats.
And I got 5,000 too.
All right, hold on, where is that? Where is that?
First page, saving, or no, second page, I'm sorry.
Second page.
What is it?
Saving future feral
Saving
cats.
future feral cats.
Did you get my 5,000, Brittany?
About 8 up from the bottom, I think.
You're 5,000 and Chris is 5,000?
5,000.
And I'm 5 too, Brittany.
5,000 and 5,000 is 10,000.
And I'll do 3,000 for the Historic Sites Consortium.
Jim, your number again?
3,000 what? The Historic Sites Consortium. And Jack, it's up to you again.
6,000 for the Judy Center.
Judy.
Where's that one? Pretty good. Too bad, but.
Commissioner Wilson, you're up.
Right, 5 for mediation.
5 for,
Mediation, that's what
Yep.
it's community mediation, Upper Shore.
yeah. Well, yeah, 5,000, okay. Bill?
Next up for me is Crossroads Community, 10,000.
Oh, damn, how did I get, Steve Wilson already did that one.
No, he did the Corsica Yacht Club, right above it.
Oh, I'm
Corsica Yacht
sorry.
Club right above
I'm
it.
sorry, you're right. Okay. Chris?
I'll do 5,000 for the Graysonville Community Center.
And I'll do 3,000 to Eastern Shore Heritage,
Graysonville Community Center, Chris is doing 3,000?
5,000.
5,000.
I'm doing 3 on Eastern Shore Heritage. Brittany, you got a running total of our numbers going down? Okay.
How much you have left?
Jack, you're up.
5,000 to the Churchill Theater.
Okay.
Jack,
Churchill Theater, 5,000.
Theater,
Commissioner Wilson, you're up.
So how much do you throw into Churchill Theater?
I'm sorry, what?
They wanted 9,500,
Yeah,
so
but
I
how
did
much is,
5.
how much is in it?
They were,
4,500, 4,750
4,500 is
is
I'll
outstanding.
fill out whatever the rest is
Okay,
to match them.
so 4,750
Yeah,
to the Churchill Theater.
yeah, that gets them up to speed.
Okay. Phil?
11th House Solutions,
Who?
11th
I
House
see it, yeah,
Solutions, front
okay.
page, 3/4 of the way down. 5,000.
There we go. You get that one, Brittany? Okay. Commissioner
All
Corcorino.
Seasons, 5,000.
What was yours,
All
Chris?
seasons, they didn't
They
request
didn't
anything.
request anything.
Did they request it? Am I reading this wrong?
That was 20s.
Oh, well, then I'm not going to give them 5,000.
There you go.
I was looking at the wrong one. there.
Big Brother, Big Sister's 5,000.
Let me give them 2,500.
Alrighty. And I'll give them the other 2,500.
So they're good.
So you get that one, Brittany? And let's see. Bill got that. That one's done. I'll do 4,000 for the Price Community Center.
All right, and then what did they have? What was their total, Jim?
4,000.
Did the whole thing, okay.
Yeah.
Because I had that too. All right. All right.
Jim, you were doing 4,000 for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they have.
Gonna do, I'm up, right?
Yes, sir.
5,000 to the Talisman Therapeutic Riding.
Okay. Mr. Wilson?
Where are we with Haven?
Well, those are two
Haven.
Homes for Hope.
Oh, this is Homes for Hope.
So how much do you want to give towards their construction? They're building 2 houses.
What'd you put in?
I'm going to put in 50,000.
I'm putting in 23.
So how much would you like to put in?
Give you 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Moran, you were 50?
I think I had 50 left, right, Brittany?
55, 95.
Well, I'm going to do 50. Commissioner Steve Wilson
In for
is
20.
going to do 20.
I'll do 10.
Commissioner Corcorino is going to do 10.
Commissioner Dumino is doing 23.
Damn. 23,000 or 2,300?
Seriously?
Yeah, which one are you doing? That's what I'm saying.
23,000.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure I didn't put it in wrong.
Damn near, what's the sum of
They
that?
got one house, it looks
I
like.
don't even know where I'm at anymore. I can't see that thing, so, and
That's like
so many of the ones I had are crossed off
That's
already.
103,000 for
Next
Haven.
year, we're gonna give you all a stack of chips, so you keep track of your.
Jack, you got 24,500.
Can I go like this? I'm all in.
I got a couple more that
Go
I want to
ahead.
get something
Hey,
to.
can we, you
So,
want to take a break real quick and have Brittany bring us up to everybody and what they have
Well, I
left?
got one more that,
Really? Well,
That's 30,000.
Mike can put the,
all right, hold on a second.
5,500.
Look,
Steve Wilson, 24,250, and Jack, 24,500, and Jim, 5,950.
yeah. So you
That
got 30, you
that
got
I-
30,000.
Yeah, and that was going to be earmarked for Kent Narrows, but since
No, you
we're
don't- yeah.
making that a line item,
Right.
do I have to spend
Well, hold
it?
on, Brittany, did you reduce us all by 5,000 on there? Okay, good, so we did do that, okay. So Jack, you're up.
5,000 towards the Queen Anne County Legacy Foundation.
Okay, Legacy. Queen Anne's County, Legacy, 5,000, Jack. Okay. Mr. Wilson.
Take a pass on this one, see what we wind up with at the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I might clean something
I'll
up.
take 10,000 of my 30,000 and put it at the Corsica River Yacht Club.
Oh, good for you.
Old sailor.
Well, that builds a dock for handicapped people.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner Corcorino,
5,000 for Kifa,
where are you?
Kent Island Federation of Arts.
You said 5,000?
Yes.
And then I'm gonna do, Brittany,
Hey, Jack.
what's left? How much do I have left?
You're almost tapped.
19.5.
5,950.
5,950?
Yeah.
So I'll go all in on Kennard alumni. There we go, I'm done. So, Jack?
I thought somebody already did Kennard alumni.
I did.
Oh, damn, you're right. Okay,
Yeah, it's done.
I'm sorry. Hold on, let me
Yeah, I
move that
did the
somewhere
whole
else.
Yeah, I did the whole
I'll put it to
75.
the Judy Center.
So what's that take the Judy Center up to?
Almost 12,000. Yeah. Okay. Up to you, Jack.
So who has gotten nothing up there, Brittany?
Gotta look all the way to the right. Yeah. We got that. Casa Midshore has nothing.
Cats and dogs. Chesapeake Bay Environmental Center.
Oh,
Seebeck didn't get any?
yeah. Put it on a pill.
Daycare Inc.
Are we just gonna make that a budget line?
I hope not.
What's particularly needy? How much have I got left, Brett?
You got a lot left.
24,200.
I got 20 left. What do we need?
Seebeck.
Huh?
Seebeck.
Gave him 50. You need more?
No, Seebeck. We haven't given them anything in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10?
Yeah, there you go.
I can finish up.
There you go.
15,000 for you.
Sorry?
You said finish that one up. 15,000.
I didn't hear.
Do you want to put 15 to that, Seebeck?
Uh,
Or you got something?
I've got 20, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna do 5,000 to the Graysonville Community Center,
There we go.
and then my remaining 15,000 to Seebeck.
Great. There we go. Attaboy.
And that makes me done.
Good zero.
Yep. Okay, we got, Jack, you got anything left? Has Jack got anything left?
Yes.
Yep.
Jim, what'd you give Seebeck?
I didn't give him anything. I
Oh,
gave
good,
him
that's right, you're out.
I'm out.
Brittany, who else gave to Seebeck besides?
Steve, you and Steve, you
What is-
did 10.
10?
So they got
Okay.
their 25.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys, Judy would have killed me.
So give
The Historical Society has nothing.
give 5 to the Queen Anne's County Historical Society, Brittany.
You mean hysterical?
Not to advocate, but we have kind of shorted the Sudlersville Library, which we've tended to give them something, at least 25,000.
I gave them 10 already, Jonathan.
Well, see, they have these two line items.
Well, one's a capital one that they want to do repairs, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, see, what Sudlersville Town, that's for the library too. So
But they
that's
didn't do
why they
anything
asked for
in 21.
65. Pardon?
Sudlersville Town didn't do anything in 21.
But that's because they folded it into the 65. Do you remember, Commissioner Moran, we had a discussion with them?
Yeah.
So their 65 is kind of equivalent to the 55 from the current year. It's really all for the library is the point.
Okay, well, who's got,
Chesapeake Cherries.
who's up? Steve, you're
Yeah,
up.
I'm going to clean my balance up by putting it into animals, but it basically puts it in he's the operator of it. So,
Okay. All right.
unless you got, if anybody has an emergency, I'm happy to help.
Well, Sudlersville,
Where did you put it?
You want that animal services?
he put it back into
What do we need for Sudlersville?
whatever we
Into
got.
Animal services?
I could put 10.
And how much was it?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to move to get 10 there
What's
too.
left of yours?
Yeah.
It's 14,250.
14,250.
You know, you want me to, I can put 20. Want me to do that?
Well, I mean, no, unless you got,
I got 40,000, I think.
you got still 40 left?
I'm not, big spenders like you guys.
Well, what happened was we
I'm
all
cautious of the
paid for it.
taxpayers'
That's what I
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? This is the most fun
guys
I
just
have
spend the
every
taxpayers'
single
money.
year this day. Other than that, the whole budget process is like,
This
rah.
happens once a year.
All right, first off, Brittany, before I spend any more money, is there anybody that got nothing so far still?
Yeah. Sunday supper, we're asking for 5,000.
I'll do
Know what that
1,000
is?
for Sunday
I didn't
supper.
read up on that one, but okay, so Sunday supper, I'll look at that one. What else?
Cats and dogs, CASA.
I'll get
I
5,000.
thought we did
for
CASA.
Yeah, I'll give 5 to Casa too.
No, we didn't. Yeah, okay, so Jack Wilson, 5 on CASA. And Chris, did you say 5 on CASA?
Yep.
Okay, Chris, 5 on CASA.
And
Which of the Sudlersville Library one is the one that's?
the operating's the one
The
they need, Chris.
61 one, or the 65 one.
All right, and they need what?
As
They've
much as
got
it,
10, but they need more?
yeah, oh yeah.
I'll do 10,000.
Who's got money left?
I do.
I think I got 9,500.
9,500, Jack has 9,500, and Chris has 24,500.
Okay,
What hasn't been touched yet?
UAC safety net has nothing.
Included cracked.
Cats and dogs.
They don't show anything, Jonathan.
What's the daycare?
What's that?
Safety net doesn't show asking for anything at 21.
Yep, daycare Inc.
Oh, no, I'm showing 40,000.
My sheet doesn't show anything.
what is it called?
Look up UAC safety net.
Yeah, I got 40,000 on mine for safety net.
Do you have the new one? See, this was last week, so they must have just got it in between last week and this week. Was that last
Oh,
week?
was it last week?
Yeah, I have last week's budget sheet. so-
Yeah, I think they
yes,
were a
that
late
was,
comer.
No, it's on here, it's on both my sheets in the book.
No, this is from out of last week's book.
Oh,
Yes, they were a late ad.
Yeah.
They just got in there.
okay, well, you know what? Yeah, that's,
40,000 should be in the book of this, correct?
the daycare center, it doesn't have anything either.
Daycare Inc.
Yeah,
I'll do 5,000.
Yeah, I'll do 4,500 to the daycare and put whatever I got left to the Sudlersville Library operating.
How much daycare? Did you say? How much for daycare?
4,500.
500, and
And then
then whatever the
5,000.
balance is to the Sudlersville Library operating.
So that pushes you up to 15 there.
Yeah. That gets us to 25, which is typically what we've been giving them.
Okay, so, Chris, you're the only one with money.
What's missing in needy?
Well, I don't know about missing, I mean, some of these aren't fully.
UAC safety net.
Sunday supper?
Cats and dogs.
No, we got,
How much do I
didn't
have?
Jack put something on there?
19,500.
Okay. Do,
No,
4,000 for cats and
could throw a
dogs,
cat.
4,000 for safety net.
Chris, Phil, you did, didn't you?
What's that?
Who did Sunday supper?
I did.
You give 1,000? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
I just keep putting the wrong column there.
Cats and dogs, and what was the other one?
Safety net?
Safety.
What do I have there?
You know,
11,500.
Just tired of the gloom, the wind and the cold and
Scroll up for me, please.
Yeah, those 2 times that I was in the hospital.
So put another 4,000 for Casa Midshore.
yeah.
I think of Mary Beth, I mean, Siggy's
it's their whole communities.
Sure. And that leaves me with what?
75.
She's a saint, that one.
Sometimes.
Well, you say the same thing about Tammy, and I'd say.
Oh, Jesus, now that's a saint.
No.
Come on now. What are you two doing over there?
Trying to see what.
This is the NFL draft.
I'm trying to see what is.
The Cork
doesn't have
Reno
anything. I got
Browns are on the
7,000 to
clock.
spread around some, so
Okay.
I was just trying to figure
You
out.
find
what
'em?
we got here.
You find something yet?
The NFL draft and Corcorino's on the clock.
He's just playing Phil. He really wasn't this frugal. He just didn't do his homework.
Yeah, do another 4,000 on Summersville Library, and then the rest for Graysonville.
There you go. Good man.
And is it safe to say, John, that we'll get a print out of this?
Yeah,
Just so I know that my records truly aren't accurate.
yeah. We'll send you a copy tomorrow.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
We're good? All done. Okay. And we can change that at the final meeting, so it's not set in stone.
Because I'm
but-
sure we'll get phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we hit a lot of them, so, I mean, I don't, I think that's. Okay.
Well, so they will ask, so, because they kind of ask, do you want?
Oh, yeah, what are we tasking John's response to be?
We can tell them there's a preliminary number, we can tell them they need to wait till the end.
What are you talking about?
Well,
When
when they call
they
in.
ask how much they got, they call us and they say, have you decided, have the commissioners
Preliminary.
decided how much?
Well, you tell them tentatively.
I can
It
say
won't be
they're
set in stone until the June
9th.
9th.
Till June
yeah.
9th, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
One more quick thing, Commissioners, just while we're here talking about grants. Now, throughout the year, we typically get additional
Yes.
random requests,
Yes.
5,000 here, 10,000 here, a lot, we get a fair number. I don't know how you want to treat those going forward, but something to keep in mind, because I know we try to do a good job making sure folks get their applications in during the budget process, and so just wanted to call that out to your attention.
Now, are you referencing like the county match grants, or are you just saying, again,
No.
outside agencies reaching to us during the year?
4-Hers come in for 5,000 to go to national.
Oh, right.
There's a number of things we've had
Yeah.
come in, but, yeah, just throwing
Okay.
that out there.
It may be determined by revenues.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
It's
So
fund
we'll
balance,
send
not
that out,
fund.
and so that's Brittany saved in the shared drive, right? Okay. All right, so we'll send you that tomorrow. Okay, so now we're going to go to the capital budget. And we had discussions last time mainly about the bonds. And so this starts on page 121. And if you go to page 127, you can see the total on the funding sources. The bonds is now at 14.7 million. It was at 19, and you had said get to 14. So we're now at 14.7. I can tell you how we got there. So if you want to look at,
Can you sometime this week, when showing us how we got there, can you put what we took off, have a side-by-side list of here's what we removed, here's what's still on the bond, just so everybody knows in case at the last minute they want to swap something out or, we don't need it right now, Jonathan, you know what I mean? Just a reference point. Just because when you look at these, it's hard to say, okay, well, I don't remember what was in that 19.4, what all did we pull out? But if you had that, just a list of those,
yeah, and so.
There's a list of those, right?
You do have a list of what we're, look at page 147. That's
Okay.
not completely, I don't think, what you're asking for, but if you look at page 147, it tells you what the 19 million was, and then it shows you what the changes were to get to the
okay, there you
47.
go. Okay,
So the detention center was the first, and we moved, it was not a reduction, we just moved it to the next year. Same with historic courthouse, Liberty Building renovation. Public fiber was actually a reduction, we actually just took that out. And the next three, the athletic field work and track and athletic field lighting from parks, were also delayed a year. So that's how we got to the 14.7.
Okay.
I would
Now-
say we could reduce the library to 2.5. The bid's at 6, there's no reason to put 6.2 in there when we're gonna have one more round of funding on it.
I think we said, right, the library only needs to have
Two.
2 million
2 in bonds.
in the bonds.
Right.
In FY '21.
Right now, it's showing 3.7.
So,
Right.
Oh, wait, I'm looking.
So we could take another 1.7 off.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's right.
Right, so the 3.7, we bring it down to 2, so we could take, then we'd be down to like 13 million in bonds.
Hold on, we can keep going.
Okay, well,
I ain't
okay,
done yet.
keep going.
So what I'd like to do, if everybody else is in agreement, is we have capital equipment in here, trucks and all that stuff in here to the tune of $1 million in bonds. And I'd just like to see us pull that out of there for now and work on it when we need it this year.
Which
Instead-
department? Is it public?
there's several. You've got them in IT,
Hang on.
why we have capital equipment in IT, I'm not sure. Yes or what?
We've got, I can't remember what the number of sheriff's cars are, but.
And that's another one I want to talk about. That's a
There's a lot of
different.
stuff like that but you rob your cash. I mean, this is a dangerous time to be depleting your cash at the expense of your capital.
But I just
You want to keep the max cash you have on hand. You can always.
But we don't have, I'm saying, why do we have to buy the vehicles this year? Can't we
That's
can't
a
float a year without buying vehicles? That's all I'm saying, yeah. Not the sheriff's cars, that's a different subject.
I don't know. I mean, it's a very interesting question as to whether things like roads that we know we have to do every year, whether deflecting it for a year into a year when we may wind up having to bump that year too. I mean,
I hear, I know what you're saying.
you see what I mean?
I do.
So it's.
But I mean,
this
we've
is
done a
not-
good job
Not a
on-
simple question to answer.
We're not through the
But
economic
we've done a good
storm.
job on
No, I mean-
replenishing the vehicles in the last 5
It's
years.
very clear that you can make this year's budget better by making next year's budget worse, but I'm not sure that's a good idea at this point.
I
I
just,
would-
Keep going, what else you got?
and then.
Well, let me just, I need to understand what you were saying in terms
So,
of
okay,
capital.
so there's 85,000
85,000
capital
IT.
in IT, then there is
There's
296,000 capital equipment under parks. You've got 215,000 capital equipment under roads. I think that was the last one.
What are you saying to do with that? Take it out?
I don't know why we're gonna bond money for that stuff and we don't even know what we're buying right now. Why would we buy 20-year money for something we don't even know that we need right now? We don't even have, I mean, is it
Well,
something
there's-
we've gotta have or?
They have a list of things that they
Yeah.
have in their systematic replacement
I mean,
schedules in the
And I know
detail.
from sitting on the Parks Board that that's equipment that they do need, they got some very old rickety stuff, so, I mean, some of those are, for,
Well, then it must have been in horrible shape when we got into office, because.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were.
we've been replacing
think they
stuff
were.
for 5 years.
The same with IT. I mean, I think the IT 85,000 is money that, goes for things like servers and, basic sort of the infrastructure, so I'd probably say,
And then the sheriff's cars, I hate bonding 7-year cars for 20 years. That's always stuck in my craw.
I take
and
your point,
continue to.
and it's a good point, but it's not a good point this year in my judgment. Because this year is a dangerous year to do this. But I agree with the general principle. But part of the reason we
What
have
else?
a
Apparently, that was it. Those were the items. That was another almost $1.5 million. So that would have got
you
us down
saved
to.
$1.7 million.
Well, it would have got us down to 12 million. I feel more comfortable there than 15 million.
all year long when people come in and say, truck, this, that, we say, Is that in the budget? And it is because we did it. And I don't want to be in the situation of saying no to yes in every pickup truck along the way. This is not a good year to knock your,
Well, how much do we have, why can't we look at between now and the final budget, what we have left over going in right now in some of these capital budgets? That's last year's bond money, and see how much of that.
We can, I mean, we've tried to look at that. You've done a pretty good job of taking that money and putting it into other things the last couple years.
On projects though, not,
Yeah,
we've
no,
never really
I know.
done it on capital accounts for trucks and all that. We've always gone after specific projects. But, I mean, if we didn't spend 500,000 that was allocated last year in bonds for roads, let's carry it over. I mean, it's why, you know.
We can look at that.
you never got cheaper debt.
We sold bonds today, actually. That was $9 million, which was for FY '20, and the rate was 1.88. That's a good rate.
You never gonna
That's
get
the
it.
lowest it's ever been. Last year, we were maybe about 2.3 or something. So we did well. But having said that, I mean, we can look at if there are any, savings in the leftover bonds or other projects.
Definitely doesn't hurt to look, for sure. Yeah.
So I would suggest that we take one of these work sessions that we haven't exactly scheduled, either June 2nd or 4th.
Because we do have some projects that probably should be closed out, should produce some savings, and I agree with Jack on that. I'd rather use that funding to buy the sheriff's vehicles and
it's
not
there,
bond
yeah.
them, I mean, PAYGO money should be where target for
kind of
sheriff's
stuff,
vehicles.
yep.
Yeah, so.
I'm not disputing the.
No, I know, I'm just saying if there's a way to do it, but if not, it'll have to be on the bond.
No, I take the point, but
Right.
I just think at this point, anything you do depletes cash you have.
Correct.
Even if it's money that you're recapturing, you could have recaptured it. I think.
But you're gonna recapture it and spend it on something.
That's correct, but
So-
right now, if you borrow it, you have it. You can always knock it off next year.
This year is not a usual year.
Duly noted.
So June 2nd is optional. Should we go ahead and say?
Well, I
we're
don't know
gonna-
how much you'd have to do some scratching and digging.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's not,
You do that.
I mean, we can
That's
do
fine.
that, that's not a big deal.
Why don't we just let him get those sheets together like we've done the last couple of years, send them out to us, we'll peruse them if it seems like it's.
Well,
worth
no, let
coming
him peruse them and let him.
Well,
come up.
again, but I'm saying if it's worth coming into a meeting and discussing and
Yeah,
whatever, or.
That's fine.
Then
See what
do
we can
it.
pick up.
Send
Okay.
me a link.
So you may have,
Brittany could start tonight.
Brittany is
Are you done yet?
preparing the presentation for next week's public hearing,
Yeah.
right?
So we're only gonna have one.
We're only gonna have one, but we'll still do a PowerPoint presentation and on your budget, and hopefully we'll have people zooming in.
Zooming in.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, I'm gonna send you wanna schedule June 2nd? So we have,
Is that a Tuesday?
Yeah.
it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. 5 PM again? That's fine.
Do we have, so the issues we're gonna talk about really are this, I mean, the capital budget. Is there anything else that we need to?
Well, we want you to go through past projects like we did 2 or 3 years ago and see what kind of savings we can produce. Not necessarily to spend it, but let's just see what's out there. So,
Okay.
you know, I mean, even if we took it and put it back in the stabilization fund, I mean, something. I think we.
Well, or any leftover capital, equipment money that's from last year that we don't anticipate buying any more vehicles between now and June 30th, roll that over into.
And that was a
offset some of this.
policy that I thought we started 4 or 5 years ago, that if there was balance left on some of these equipment contracts, that money would come back.
It was supposed, that was.
Yeah,
That would come back
for us
before
to
it was
distribute that money.
transferred.
Yeah, that's right.
Before they were able to put it in another project or
Correct.
move it, it had to come back to you.
Correct. And that's a policy that we need to get back on. I think that's gotten a little bit lax, so.
come back to us and let us decide what we want to, where the biggest need we feel is in the county.
Okay. Okay, so we'll.
So we're down right now, the bond's down to 13. As of today, the bond's down to around 13.
It's down to 13.
Okay.
Which is just a net addition of 6.
I would say, I do want to show you one thing.
So we're just cutting out the library money but not,
Yeah.
no further cuts to the capital, or the bonds, I mean, or you want
Not
to
at this
cut out all the equipment too?
No, the equipment's still in there right now.
Still in, okay,
Right,
still
yeah.
in, okay, but you want to look at the other projects?
Right, and the library one is just because it goes into 2022, because that's when they'll need it, in 22.
Yeah, we looked at it, we need 4 million in 21, and then the rest, 3.5 in 22.
Right.
So 2 million of bond in each of those 2 years.
Right.
To do the project,
Okay.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah, that's right.
So let me just, one last page, which is the last page, 148. And what 148 is showing you is the funding sources for each of the next 6 years as it currently stands. And so I would suggest looking primarily at the bonds. And we have kind of shifted things out, and we do have a couple, fairly big years. So the bonds for, let's say, 22, 23, and 24 are in that same range of 12 to 13 million. Those are obviously not set in concrete because they won't really be until next year, but I just sort of point those out. I mean, the detention center is a big project that's, sort of in those out years. And I think that's the largest one.
Got to have an elementary school in there somewhere.
We had the,
Elementary.
Or
No,
middle school in there
Middle
somewhere.
school, yeah. Well, we pushed that, so,
yeah, and I think the admin building is
That
about
was
a
in
couple
there.
million in there
Yeah.
too,
yeah.
one of
So,
those years. So, just to point that out. Okay?
very good. Anything else?
I think that's all, unless,
We don't,
anything else,
That's all
Jonathan?
I got.
think that's all we have?
else we need to handle till next Tuesday.
Real quick, Jim, I just want to give you the stats. Jenny Rhodes sent me the stats for the chicken sale on Saturday.
Yeah.
To share. They were selling, obviously, the 40-pound case of chicken tenders and 40-pound case of boneless chicken thighs. It was pre-sale only. They sold 1,568 cases of chicken, 824 individual orders. It was 62,720 pounds of chicken was sold. It provided 250,880 meals for the community. Total sales to the community was 87,710. The retail value was $170,089. Savings to the community, 82,379. They had over 50 plus volunteers from the Farm Bureau, Mountain Air Chicken, University of Maryland Extension, county government employees, 4-H FFA, Queen Anne's County Office of Sheriff, and volunteers came from all over Delmarva. And I don't know if anybody else got to get any, but I went over there, they were exercising social distancing. They did a fantastic job. They definitely blew away the system that Middletown had 2 weeks earlier, because you went in, you checked in, you pulled up, your chicken was loaded, and you were out the door. And everybody was wearing their masks. They were doing their distancing. So phenomenal event. And honestly, when I talked to Jenny, it's like, something like this, we've said COVID is going to change the way we do business. And this is, to me, honestly, it's almost a no-brainer not to do something like this quarterly. I mean, with how efficient it was, and I know the food stores and all that might not be happy about it, but I know the average consumer was. I've got 40 pounds of chicken, so if you call my house or you call me, I will be barbecuing chickens for a while, for the foreseeable future, so.
Well, good.
That is
All right.
nice.
Anybody else have anything?
No.
That's all. I think we have a pretty light agenda for our meeting next Tuesday. We have the budget hearing, which isn't until 7 PM. That's been advertised, so I don't know, we may start a little bit later next Tuesday if that's agreeable, so we don't have any gaps in there, because we have to start the
Sure.
hearing at 7.
So what are you thinking?
I don't know. Margie, do you have anything else?
Probably not till 6 if that's.
Maybe 6?
okay. Yeah.
6 o'clock's good.
Yeah, just pretty light right now, that's all, not a lot coming in, so.
Time to get off the golf course.
Uh-huh, there you go. Well, good. Well, hopefully people went back to work. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, if you live in Queen Anne's County and you work in Queen Anne's County, go to work. Go to work, let's go. And I see there's some emails and letters circulating that the Eastern Shore, I see the Eastern Shore, our delegation is going to be sending a letter to the governor to open up,
That's been sent.
it has been sent, so, to open up our restaurants and outdoor dining facilities, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, several other counties have made similar, are going to be sending similar letters, so if you as this Board of Commissioners want to support that, we can send a letter as well in support of opening the restaurants.
And it's something that has been discussed with Dr. C, and he
this
said
didn't
it's
take
something that we can do safely.
Yeah. Very good. Anything else?
Make a motion?
Absolutely.
To adjourn?
Second?
All in favor? Here we go. Thank you very much.